Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Friday Morning at the Funhouse, alongside Mr. Martin Popoff, as always, as co-host. Martin, what's going on?
Yes, morning, sir. Yeah, looking forward to this. Winter again is back. It seems it's very cold out these days. It's nice and sunny, but yeah, hopefully things will turn around.
Sun is out, but it was like 34 degrees this morning when I got up.
All of Canada's burning down. Unfortunately, that's what's going on right now. Alberta's got massive wildfires. So
No good. Have you guys not had a lot of rain up there of late?
yeah, I think it's just the perfect storm. They're saying it's been dry. I don't think they got a lot of snow this year over there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I've always thought I've always wondered why the entire world doesn't just burn down when these fires start, right? It's just so weird, right? You hear like 80 of them are out of control, right? It's like, well, out of control means you would think, things spread like this. You would think it exponentially gets more out of control and the whole world burns down, right? But somehow they go out. So
They do eventually. They wreak their havoc and then they go out, and yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of sad, but that's unfortunately the state of the planet these days, right? So
Yeah.
So we've got an interesting show here for you today. So we're going to kind of take a look at the RIAA, which of course is the Recording Industry Association of America. They have a website where you can go on and you can kind of track and see albums that have been certified over, like periods of time. And so and Martin, I don't even know, how did we kind of get on this topic? I know you like to look at this fairly regularly, but Martin was on there recently, and we were kind of chatting. He's like, can you believe that this album just recertified recently, and taking a look at some of the numbers? And we thought, maybe we could kind of talk about this during the show. And we'll actually, in a second, after Martin kind of expands a little bit on this topic, I'll show you exactly what we're looking at. So when we're talking about some of these albums and these certifications, you know where we got all this information from. So Martin, I don't know if you want to take it from there, and I'll load the website.
I've always thought that, everybody has different ways that band accolades, like which ones are more important sort of thing, right? So, people talk about winning Grammy awards or being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've always thought the whole, like, how did your album certify? Is it gold, platinum? All of that means a lot. And I think Wikipedia has done a good job of helping to sort of, codify or solidify that. You're seeing now when you go to the site. So basically, I've always thought that at least, in our world, it seems like this is the way to talk about whether an album has been successful or not, the whole gold and platinum thing. And then when writing these books, right, I usually put that information in, like it went gold, it went platinum or whatever. But the nice thing to add as detail is it's really cool when you see these albums that are maybe going 10 times platinum, which is diamond, right? That's
Yep.
10 million sales. It's interesting to see how fast these things happen and when things get certified. And there's this whole murky sort of thing, which is a whole discussion in itself about, why certain things haven't certified for years, or they haven't gone back and gotten it done. And it usually has to do with money or, skullduggery about hiding sales and things like that. But yeah, I do love that whole thing about doing a little bit of analysis of when it happened. And as you can see on this site, so Music Canada, so Canada has one too, but it's now called Music Canada, doesn't work quite as well as this. Typical nonprofit or governmental sort of sites, often they don't work perfectly. There's a UK one as well. I think Japan's, you can't quite look at Japan's. I don't know. I haven't researched a lot of this lately, but fortunately, the most important one, the American one, works pretty darn well, right? So yeah, you just go in like this, you hit the more details button, and it tells you, when it last certified and how fast things happen. So it's really neat. You can see how fast Back in Black got to whatever it is, 30 million or 25 million. But so this show is kind of interesting because what happens is, we know we've had the death of physical product essentially, right? And now we're into a streaming era, and they have a whole way of keeping this thing going with streaming. And the way it roughly works is, is 1,500 plays of a song. Now I'm trying to get some answers. I even emailed the accounting firm that's part of RIAA, and I didn't get an answer back. I'm not surprised. But to think about like how long do you have to play something or whatever. And then I looked into a little bit. I did some research on how do you account for greatest hits albums and stuff, and they seem pretty. I found some stats on that where they seem pretty clear that if you've counted a song on the original studio album, it doesn't count again on the greatest hits album. So you're not allowed to cross it to make it twice. But the long and short of it is in the streaming era, now that when you play a song 1,500 times, that counts for one album sale, right? So you can multiply that out and you can still get your gold and platinum. Gold and platinum is so gold is 500,000 in the States, platinum is 1 million in the States. Gold, I think, came in 1976. No, sorry, platinum came in 1976. That was the first time they started looking at platinum. And then diamond, I had to write about this recently. I think it's 1999 diamond. There was a big party at the Roseland Ballroom. In fact, I mentioned this to Billy Gibbons when I talked to him, right? Because I found a Billboard article on it. There was this big party in New York at the Roseland, and members of Zeppelin, AC/DC, Metallica, Billy Gibbons, Madonna, Billy Joel, they were all there to get the very first Diamond Awards ever. And I think, how did it work? So there were something like 45 artists representing 65 different albums. That's roughly the number. So those were the very first Diamond Awards. So yeah, this show is a little bit about this continues on, and people don't realize this continues on because of the death of physical product. And so we've got some surprising, in our classic rock world, some new certifications that, if you're not up on this, you wouldn't know have happened. But to Wikipedia's credit, they do a pretty good job of when it does happen, you can go there and find it there. So yeah, we've always considered this the greatest gauge of an album's success. It's way more important to us than Grammys, and you know how we all complain about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So this is the most important thing. So there's your preamble.
Yeah, and I also want to stress too. So originally we were just going to look at like the last year, and then we thought, well, why don't we go back a little bit to see kind of like what has happened, especially during the COVID years, right? Because people were home, people probably listening to and buying more music perhaps, and to see if there are any surprises that happened in that period. And then we even went further back and we went to the year prior to COVID. So I think with this, everything we're going to talk about today is from 2019 and onwards. So we'll have Martin kick us off with the first selection, and these are from fairly recently. So this is 2023 and like second half of 2022.
Let's mention one other thing too. When you go there and you try to filter using advanced search, or you just put recent, so you could see kind of what we saw to filter this out, you will notice that 95% of everything that's there are hip hop and pop singles. So yes. This has been kind of ruined. It's been semi-ruined, but if you filter, you can find all this. It's been kind of polluted basically by the idea of streamed singles, massive hit songs that get billions of plays. And all of a sudden, those guys are all pretty savvy about wanting to go get their gold and platinum, but they're almost all singles, which is pretty crazy. But all those pop artists are smart enough to go get their albums and stuff too. So they notice the romance of this thing and how it's kind of important. But yeah, and so yeah, obviously it's been polluted by the fact that it's all pop and hip hop singles, and it's been polluted by the fact. So number one, it's mostly one genre. It's mostly singles, which was always a murky, weird thing. But believe it or not, all through the decades, they've had gold and platinum singles and stuff, at least gold singles.
Yeah, but that really speaks to the consumption of music nowadays. Most people are listening to songs and not albums. So that totally goes in line with the way people consume music these days.
Yeah. So, okay. So yeah. So to get into it, my first little batch here, Greta Van Fleet's Anthem of the Peaceful Army has gone gold on May 10th, 2023. Ambrosia, here's one of Pete's favorites, 180 gone gold, November 30th, 2022. I don't know how old is that album roughly?
Early 80s.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I'm quite frank, and we talked about this on Instant Messenger
Yeah.
a couple days ago. I'm shocked that it took this long for that album to only go gold, because that had two massive hits on the album.
Yeah.
So I was
Well,
very
okay. So
surprised to
let's
see
do
that.
another little side trip here. So the fact of the matter is, somebody has to go ask to check out a certification, right? So, and you have to pay for that. So you have to pay for the accounting firm to go through that. So once you get all that done, so sometimes the label doesn't want you to know how much your albums have sold. Sometimes you've had a break with that label and you're not friends with them anymore. Sometimes the band's been broken up for years. Sometimes you've had a break with your manager and your manager doesn't want to go get this. Sometimes only your manager wants to know about this. I know stories like that. And so there's lots and lots of reasons, labels get bought out, they get changed. And then when it comes to getting these things, then it's like, somebody has to be not cheap enough to actually want to go buy X number of gold and platinum records. And bands, what they would do is normally, the management and the bands would get them. Okay, that makes sense. But then it's like, how generous are we? Are we going to pay off like radio promoters that helped us get our things on the go? I've got one gold album sent to me very kindly by Wendy Dio. Beautiful, beautiful thing, simply because I wrote some liner notes for a Dio best of album, right? So there are, you can buy and send out and get the little plaque made for as many people as you want. But so many bands are so cheap that they don't even want to even go check to get it certified, let alone buy, framed up gold. So it's an industry, it's a business to do this. But so some people love this and some people say, I don't care, sort of thing. So to continue on, Billy Joel, The Stranger, 11 times platinum, October 18th, 22. Alice in Chains. So here's a neat sort of situation where generally what a band will do is go back and ask for certification of a bunch of stuff at once. They figure, if we're going to go through this process, let's go do a bunch. So Alice in Chains, August 5th, 22, Dirt, 5 times platinum, Facelift, 3 times, Unplugged, 2 times platinum, Greatest Hits platinum, The Essential gold. You'll see The Essential in here a lot too. So that's the other thing. A lot of these bands you can get, some bands' biggest albums are their greatest hits albums, which kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't. But there's this whole series that Columbia did called The Essential. And they have them for many, many bands, and those have sold pretty well. So it was a good business idea. So, and my final one is Toto 4 is 4 times platinum, July 1922.
Yeah, and I remember because the Toto one came up, I believe it was on a show that I did with Simon and Steven on the UK Connection, where we were talking about that album and how it was certified last year 4 times platinum. And I was kind of surprised because, again, in my head, I always thought that was a bigger album. But then, 4 times platinum is pretty damn big. But it's interesting how sometimes our perception of album sales is not always doesn't always line up with actually how much they actually sold. Yeah. So all right, so kind of like the Alice in Chains thing with my next batch here. So again, Mr. Springsteen must have gone in and asked for, or someone asked for certification numbers for Bruce's catalog. So all of this happened on May 25th, 2022. We got Born to Run, 7 times platinum. The Greatest Hits, 6 times platinum. Wrecking Ball, which is one of his more recent albums, gold. And Born in the USA now is up to 17 times platinum. Huge number. Speaking of Dio, we got Holy Diver, May 6th, 2022, 2 times platinum. Soundgarden, Super Unknown, 6 times platinum on April 21st, 2022. And The Doors, LA Woman, there you go, 3 times platinum, December 3rd, 2021 for The Doors. So again, whether that's, it'd be interesting, I didn't look it up, but I'm wondering how LA Woman stacks up with all the other Doors albums, because I'm pretty sure every one of them is platinum plus at this. So
yeah.
all right.
And it's so cool. Like, again, I love seeing Dio Holy Diver. That means Wendy's on the ball getting this done. So that's really cool. It speaks well of management when you see this happen, right?
Right.
And it's just such a cool thing. Like everybody, all of us doing these YouTube shows for the next bunch of future, that's going to get cited a lot, right? Because people will go to the wiki page, and we all think this is a cool thing. So seeing that at double platinum, I still think I'm pretty sure Heaven and Hell is still hanging out at platinum, and Mob Rules I think is still hanging out at gold. And these things ossify in your mind, and you just think, okay, well, that's how big they are. They're no bigger, no smaller. They're kind of not that great. But all of a sudden, it's like you get this perception in your head. Wow, Holy Diver's a bigger deal than those ones, and so you start thinking of it as more important, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think I've always been amazed when bands don't go back and do this. That's a whole nother discussion, but there's a number of bands that always get cited as like, why haven't they gone and got this fixed? Because they would certainly look like a bigger band if they went
I
back
mean, you
and
would
did it.
think that would matter to them, right? I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of prestige to having a multi-platinum album, right? So why would you wait 20, 30 years to even check on it and see where it's at? I honestly don't really understand it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my next batch is Billy Joel The Hits, gold. So that must be just a recent hits album, I imagine. Led Zeppelin 4 is now 24 times platinum. So somebody's smart about Led Zeppelin. I've noticed this. Led Zeppelin, they keep going back and getting this done, right? All through the decades. So it's really cool. Aerosmith Greatest Hits, 12 times platinum. Oh Yeah, Ultimate Aerosmith Hits, 3 times platinum. Toys in the Attic. So this is now 9 times platinum. I can't wrap my head around that. I just think about this record, and I just can't think of it as that big an album. But I won't go into it too much, but David Krebs is a good buddy of mine. So he was Aerosmith's manager, Ted. Also, he's still getting paid for AC/DC, Highway to Hell, and Back in Black, and for Those About to Rock. But I know for a fact that he keeps tabs on all this, and because he keeps getting paid for all these Aerosmith albums. Hasn't been Aerosmith's manager since 83, 84, right? But this is how these deals work with these management deals, like the stuff you worked on at that time. If you did your deal right, you get paid forever on, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's always very on top of this, but and so he's a big, I think he's a big reason why the CBS catalog is taken care of really well that way. But it seems like the Geffen stuff is looked at as well. But yeah. And that gets into a whole nother thing. I won't go too far into it, but Kiss is notorious for having not gone back and looked at this in a long time. And you would think, Kiss being competitive the way they are, and here's one of their main competitors in the 70s and stuff, right? I don't believe there's a Kiss album higher than double platinum rated, right? Or certified. And, Alive is sitting there still at gold or whatever. And you would think Aerosmith is just like bounded off into the ether with a lot of these, like insignificant greatest hits albums you even forget exist are diamond, right? It's crazy. So
yeah, that's in fact that great. That's the red album, right? With the logo in white. Yeah.
And Godsmack, Where Legends Rise, gold. So that's really cool to see, that they're a successful band. Sully's a good guy.
Yeah, Toys in the Attic 9 times platinum. That's I wonder where Rocks sits.
Yeah, I can't recall, but I believe Rocks is a little less than that.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Wow. The Led Zeppelin numbers are just crazy, and we talked about that a while ago. About if you go look at all of the Led Zeppelin catalog and look at the sales numbers, it's astronomical. I mean, every one of them is like 10 plus, right, or pretty close to it. And then this one, I mean, 24, that's a lot of albums. You have to wonder, like, how much of this is due to, continued sales to the younger generation. How many folks in our age group are still buying these albums over and over again. But now you have all the streams and everything else, right? So that takes a lot of,
well, exactly. And that's where it's all coming from. It's like the iconic hits of the world, the biggest bands. those single songs, the most massive songs,
Over
are
and over
being
again.
played by many generations. And it doesn't matter anymore. The album, here's your 10 songs. It's like Led Zeppelin Black Dog can add up to, it could carry all the weight of a Led Zeppelin 4, whatever. And my
Right.
final point is this probably speaks well to Trinifold management and just again, management being on top of it and having good relations with your label. So when all of that happens and the numbers are above board and nobody's trying to hide anything, and there's no, because I see that one brought up a lot. It's like, oh, they don't want to tell us how many it sold because that means they owe us more royalties, right? So I hear that one a lot. But yeah, very cool.
Yeah, the whole Kiss thing too is crazy, right? You would think Gene Simmons would want to know and want the world to know how many, copies of these albums are actually sold. And the fact that it's gone so long without recertifying, that's very strange to me. But whatever. All right. So next bunch here. So we got a few Michael Jacksons here. So we got Bad, 11 times platinum. And these are all certified on August 20th, 2021. Thriller, 34 times platinum. Number ones, 5 times platinum, and The Essential, 5 times platinum as well. I mean, just think of that, 34 million. So between Thriller and Led Zeppelin 4,
yeah,
that's like 70 million copies, right? It's crazy.
I think Thriller is still the number one biggest selling album of all time.
Of all time, yeah, right? Yeah. Journey, Escape, 10 times platinum.
Yeah,
pretty crazy. July 15th, 2021. That's a diamond sale for them. Buck Cherry, June 2nd, 2021, 15, the album 15, 2 times platinum. Avenged Sevenfold, self-titled release, platinum on May 4th, 2021. And we got a couple of ELO ones, all certified on April 26, 2021. ELO Classics went gold. The Essential went gold. As Martin said, the Essentials are popping up all over the place here. All over the world, the very best of gold. Again, all on April 26th. So, and most of these Essentials collections, if I remember correctly, started coming out in the early 2000s. So we're looking at fairly recent compilations here, the Essentials. It's a whole series of them. So,
and this is a little suspicious and it is a little murky because I did go and read the fine print at RIAA, and they seem to really be pretty locked down about how Greatest Hits albums works. But if you think about it, what got me thinking about it was say you've got Don't Stop Believin', right? So it comes out on a studio album and you count it there and it's got so many plays, right?
yep.
But then it also is on the Greatest Hits album. So is there some way of double counting? But apparently RIAA says no, but still you see all these ELO. Another thing I did, which was kind of interesting, is so I compared that Don't Stop Believin', I verified that it says the same 1.5 billion plays or whatever at the studio album. And then if you go to the Greatest Hits album, it says the same number. So that's good. That's showing you something. And another funny thing I noticed is I thought I'd play a song and then go out and come back in and see if the count went up one, but it doesn't. So there's some weird thing where I guess maybe they just count every once in a while or something like that. So there's no automatic counting. It's not like watching a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, and that brings up something else. So I don't use Spotify, but my wife has a Spotify account. And I know sometimes like when we're doing stuff and we're utilizing her Spotify account, she'll be like, what do you want to hear? I'll use Journey as an example. And so I'll be like, why don't you play some Journey? It's one of the bands we kind of can agree on. And she'll go onto Spotify, or even if we were using like the Alexa thing from Amazon, right? And you ask to play Journey, they'll pick Don't Stop Believing from the Essentials or from the Greatest Hits, but they won't pick it from Escape. And it'll come up that way in Spotify as well. So again, is it the luck of the draw? Like why does the streaming service choose select the song from a hits compilation and not from the actual album it came from? So I don't know. And how does that work towards all of this?
And the other thing kind of related to this is I remember doing a episode of my podcast, the History in 5 Songs thing, where I went through and tried this numbers thing. And what I love about this is that I think there's a whole pile of great albums that would certify. And one that I remember doing the math on and realizing that Motorhead Ace of Spades would be gold now. Right. Yeah. And again, the only reason it would be gold is because everybody is clicking on that one song over and over again, all generations. Yep. Right.
Yep.
And so that's doing all the heavy lifting for the album. But then you think of, all the Motorhead guys have sadly passed on, but there does seem to be like their, management and RIAA and everybody's kind of like keeping the Motorhead legacy alive in a very competent way. But I would think, well, here's another way to do it, right? So this is all great publicity when you have an album go gold. I would love to see a little celebration of Motorhead Ace of Spades going gold, right?
Sure.
So somebody should go out and do these things, right? So all right, so my next batch is Tom Petty Wildflowers and All the Rest gold. We've got, there we go. We've got Rush Moving Pictures is now 5 times platinum. So it's very cool that now all of our YouTube shows talking about this album, we'll talk about it, at a 20% larger amount of importance that we used to, right? Yeah. I remember doing tons of YouTube shows and I've had it like burned into my brain that that's a 4 times platinum album, right? Now it's cool. It's a 5 times platinum album. So that's really cool. Tool Undertow, 3 times platinum. Lateralis, 3 times platinum. 10,000 Days, 2 times platinum. So again, there you go, group certification. Queen, the Platinum Collection, 5 times platinum. Hell Yeah, that's really cool. So Hell Yeah, we've got Vinny there. Gold, February 25th, 2021. So we're into the 2021s here. So yeah, just a cool little story for these bands.
And when did Vinny pass away?
Boy, that's a couple years now, I think, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if his death helped push sales of that or plays of that.
Could be.
Yeah, because it wasn't that long ago, right? So maybe 2020. Trying to remember if he passed away before the pandemic or in the beginning of it. I don't remember. So anyway. All right. So speaking of Queen, how about another collection? Their original greatest hits. 9 times platinum. December 11th, 2020.
Wow.
Right. I mean, some of these greatest hit sets are just like crazy. Evanescence self-titled went gold December 9th, 2020. What do we got here? Tool, Fear Inoculum, this kind of crazy thing, however you hold this, right? So this actually certified gold August 12th, 2020. Five Finger Death Punch and Justice for None, gold July 31st, 2020. And Volbeat, Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies went gold June 3rd, 2020. So some interesting picks there.
Yeah, it brings up an interesting point. Like Queen Greatest Hits, most of those sales would have been pretty straightforward to figure out. You know, you've got, here's a Queen studio album. Here in my hands is Queen Greatest Hits. You walk up to the cash register, you pay for it, and you walk out the door, right? So, it was much more straightforward then. But now we've got this problem where, I don't know. I mean, I would like to get it's probably a pretty interesting answer, but you would think that if they're pretty strict about only counting the song on the studio album, that logically speaking, most greatest hits albums would grind to a halt and you would have no more sales, essentially, because all those songs are taken up, hit play, boom, boom, boom. It all gets, ascribed to Journey Escape rather than greatest hits album or whatever, right?
Yeah. But again, and maybe because I just don't know, but it's based on the listening and choosing habits of the consumers. How many people will go and search on Spotify for, I like Queen, I don't need all the albums, I just want the best songs, and go find and search for Queen's greatest hits and add that to their playlist, and boom, there you go, and they listen to that over and over and over and over again. So
but at least in Spotify, I think we've proven that probably wouldn't be the case by seeing, I went and checked that the exact same number is there for the song, right? Yep. So you can tell that, because I thought the same thing, that you would probably go in and you could probably find Don't Stop Believing in 5 or 6 different places, all with different numbers. But it's not true. So, But yeah, elsewhere, who knows? It is a bit the Wild West. Here's the other funny thing about this. I've got a lot of industry buddies, and I ask them about a lot of this stuff. They have no clue. I mean, a lot of people don't know how a lot of this works, which is really bizarre, right? So you would think they would. So, all right. So my next batch, I've got Three Doors Down, The Better Life, 7 times platinum. Nirvana MTV Unplugged. Did I pull it? No, I didn't get that out. Nirvana MTV Unplugged, 8 times platinum. Boy, that unplugged thing turned out to be a massive boom.
Yeah.
Boom, right.
Yeah.
So AC/DC Back in Black, 25 times platinum. And it was 22 times platinum in December 2007. So again, I'm pretty sure this is David Krebs staying on top of all this, like watching the sales of Back in Black. Lamb of God Sacrament, gold. There you go. And Greta Van Fleet, From the Fires, gold. So now we're back into 2019. So yeah, another cool little batch of these things.
Yep. And all those Martin just mentioned are just prior to the pandemic, right? So yeah. All right. And the last little batch here, we've got certifications from the early part of 2019. We didn't go to 2018 and back. We could do that at some point if people wanted us to, but I think this is kind of cool what we've kind of shown so far. So Queen Bohemian Rhapsody, which I'm pretty sure is the soundtrack to the film that came out, was certified gold on March 27, 2019. Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz, 5 times platinum, February 24th, wow. 2019. That's nice. A big number, right? Yeah, it's a big number. I mean, arguably, or not arguably, probably bigger than any Sabbath-related album during the 80s. If I'd have to go double.
I don't know. I think that's even bigger than any album in the 70s. I mean, it'd probably be Paranoid. And to my mind, in my mind, I'm thinking Paranoid was 4 times.
4 times? Yeah, you might be right. So you might be right. And then also Ozzy Osbourne, The Essential Ozzy Osbourne, 2 times platinum, February 24th, 2019.
Yeah. And, we must reiterate also, I mean, again, we've got the death of physical product. Yep. Around 2005, that's kind of the big drop off, right? So essentially all the way up, and then there's this murky sort of the sound scan era came in. So there was this era that came in. I think around 1991, the counting kind of changed to things, but you had vinyl that was pretty straightforward. Then you had CDs, pretty straightforward, but you got the sound scan thing happening. You had the death of physical product. And the one thing we didn't mention is in there's a short kind of period where there was a fair bit of buying of tracks or buying of albums, downloading, right?
Right. Yeah.
Downloading really doesn't happen much anymore because now it's all streaming. So yeah, now it is really all based on these streaming numbers. And that's why, the system has been kind of gamed or morphed to be literally about hip hop and pop singles more than anything. But yeah, it's just cool to see these accolades are there, and I'm just constantly surprised bands are not always on top of this completely.
Yeah, for sure. Martin, do we want to touch on any of these other points that towards the end? I don't know, anything there.
Yeah, this was So actually, credit to Shane Chatry who kind of brought up this and was messengering me back and forth, the point being made here is we got into a little bit of a discussion. Like I know quite a bit of the story of why David Bowie has never been properly done, and that's a lot to do with financial shenanigans. It's still a mystery to me why Kiss definitely, but even Iron Maiden, why Rod hasn't kind of gotten all of this done better. You would think they would have gone and done a bunch of this. So it'd be a great question for Rod. It's like why Rod strikes me as a little bit of a we're the people's band. We're
sales don't matter, right? Yeah.
That doesn't, with the, we saw what happened with the Hall of Fame. They didn't get in, but they've been bad mouthing and all this. So yeah, we're the people's band. None of that matters. We're out there selling tickets, and Rod admits. But here's the thing. So Rod kind of like admits he will be self-deprecating and modest a little and say, you know what, we really don't sell a lot of records. We're more of a live band and people love us, but the industry's against us and we're too heavy and all this. But the fact of the matter is, if they went back, they could show that they actually have sold a lot of records now. And it's a beautiful story, and it'd be a great story. And I don't know why management doesn't even like play a little more 3D chess with this and say, okay, we got a new album coming out, we got a new tour coming out. What would be a neat thing to get us on friggin' CNN or something, right? You know, Iron Maiden could go on and probably get 7 new certifications and totally be on CNN. Oh, by the way, it's a new Iron Maiden tour. It's like, oh, wow, what are they on CNN for? Here's Iron Maiden receiving, you know, double platinum for this and gold for this.
For all those albums in the 80s,
yeah,
right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, it's a really great PR story that you could time with certain things, right?
Yeah, I remember like a couple of years ago doing some various show and talking about like the sales of the Iron Maiden catalog versus the Judas Priest catalog in the 80s, and looking at all the numbers and thinking, all right, well, I mean, great for Iron Maiden that almost every album in that time period is certified at least platinum. I think there's a double platinum, 1 or 2 in there, but that's it. And thinking like, why is it not higher than that, right? Because they haven't gone in and asked for it to be recertified again and checked. So I guarantee you, after all this time, that Maiden catalog, if they would go in and do that now, would be much more impressive from a sales perspective than what it shows and what it appears to be right now.
Exactly. And how many fans don't know that it's not because they haven't sold enough, it's because they just lax.
100%.
Right? So you know, you're looking that stuff up, and Wikipedia lays it out so nicely. It's just so obvious how big a band is. When I want to go and check a band I know nothing about, like Garth Brooks is a hilarious one. Like, you look up Garth Brooks and you go, this guy is like one of the biggest artists of all time. You know, he's just massive, like diamond albums, probably more diamond albums than anybody. Like, he's just so huge, right? Or any of those bands. It's really cool to see the arc of these bands, right? Or you see the Commodores or somebody, or the Spinners, where you go, okay, well, I can see how their career went, because you just look at it and you see 10 albums and all of a sudden it's like nothing, 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 gold, gold, platinum, gold, nothing, 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 platinum. So it's like, okay, well, I see they were big from 74 to 76, and they had a freak hit, you know, in 81 or whatever, and they got kind of big again. And now I know the story, right? It's such an easy way to see the story, and it means so much. And I think it's so, you know, it's, you can't, there's some lying that goes on about how all this works. You know, there's little funny ways. You can drive sales numbers. We've all heard the Casablanca stories and stuff, but generally speaking, it's right there. So yeah, more bands I think should do this. And I've even thought, I've told people, you know, I think there's literally a whole consultancy job for someone who wants to do it. It's like call yourself a facilitator of people's gold and platinums, and learn how to do it, and go, and you could create an actual job category in the music business as someone who's like, I'll help you go get this done.
Yeah. And maybe every band pays like a nominal fee, right, each year or whatever. And that goes towards the research to go find these numbers and update these numbers. So again, for those watching, the moral of the story is what you may see on various websites and Wikipedia as sales may not be actually what the sales are, because if they have not been updated in quite some time, they're not true to what the actual true numbers are.
And just to reiterate, if you care enough to go see when the last time it's updated, you just put in like RIAA gold and platinum in Google, or, you know, find the RIAA site however you want. The search is a little hard to use. It's not very good. Like, if you put in Kiss, it's going to give you every hip hop song with the word Kiss in it. And, you know, you might have to use the advanced search. But then what you do is you go find the album. Okay, say Wiki says it's platinum, right? So you know it's in there. You go find the album, however you can get to the album. Then you go to more details, and you pull down that little pull down, and it'll tell you it was gold in May 77, platinum in June 78. But then, you know, they haven't, you know, it's not been looked at for that long. But it's fun because you can see, like for Montrose, for example, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's one of those where you can go in and see, oh, it did take a long time to get to platinum, right? Because the legend had to grow about it, right?
Yep.
So it's neat. And like I say, you can see how fast Back in Black sold, right? Because, you know, none of us off the top of our head know how big an album Back in Black was in 1986, right?
Correct.
We just know it's massive, but
Right.
we don't know how massive and how fast it got fast, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating subject, right? Yeah. This is how it all works, right? So cool. So Martin, besides for the RIAA, what else have you been up to lately besides looking at all these strange numbers on the internet with me?
Yeah, well, I don't have any gold and platinum books out, but anyways, so yeah, the books are all at martinpopoff.com. We got our YouTube show, The Contrarians, and History in 5 Songs. The last one was called, just went up yesterday, Bands Get Smart. It's about bands who went from an 80 IQ to 120 IQ over the course of one album. So examples of that. So yeah,
cool.
All out there somewhere.
There you go. Cool. Let's see, what do we got going on here on the channel? We've got the UK Connection coming at you tomorrow, along with Simon Bray, Stephen Reed, and myself. We're doing another selection of AOR melodic rock albums that we're going to be talking about. And then on Sunday, we got Rich Catino coming back on the channel. He and I are going to rank the catalog of the Norwegian symphonic black metal act Dimmu Borgir. So that's coming up on Sunday. And then, of course, you blink, and we'll be back here at the Funhouse next Friday. So for Martin Popoff, I am Pete Pardo. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Friday here at the Funhouse. Take care.